your Tiger Tech's Team Black from Sharon, Pennsylvania. I'm Kate, and the rest of the team is going to take a moment to introduce themselves before we get started.
Hi, I'm Warren.
Hi, I'm Keegan. Hi, I'm Lucas.
Hi, I'm Bodie.
Hi, I'm Tony.
Hi, I'm Naima.
We are so glad that you're here with us today to hear about how to develop a robot strategy. Over the past several years, we have learned tips and tricks on how to developing a great robot strategy. We hope today that teams are able to take away some of those tips that we have learned over the years to help with planning out their robot strategy for the replay season. So our first tip for you is to really know the challenge. You should read the replay robot game book and know the rules. It's important that you know the field setup, the mission model details, the rules, and your path diagram. Any and all of this information is available in the robot game rulebook, so it's important that you sit down and read this with your team. Many rules have changed this year, so it's important that you sit down, and even if you're a veteran or a rookie team, and it's important that you're comfortable and know what rules have changed and what they have changed to, as long as what rules have been added. One rule that's changed this year is that the shape and use of home is now related to launching. So as you can see in the picture below, in previous years, with the addition of home, launch, you had to have your robot completely in launch area when you launched it. And it had to come all the way back into home before you could touch it, transition, put on any new attachments, do anything with it. This year though, once you launch your robot out of the launch area, launch becomes a regular part of home. So you have all of that space to transition and add anything to your robot that needs to be added. The launch height limit this year is also removed. But don't abuse this rule by making huge robots or first said that they will bring it back next year. So there is no ceiling when launching your robot. Some more rules that have changed is that this year, jigs can extend to the west wall. So like I said, with the addition of home last year, you had to line your jigs up with launch, which is inconsistent and pretty hard to do when you're trying to transition and go pretty quickly. So this year, instead of having to try to line them up with launch, you can extend your jigs all the way back to the west wall. As you can see in the photo here, in the red box, that's the west wall, and your jigs can go all the way from the quarter circle for launch all the way back to that wall. And this will give you more accuracy and precision when launching your robot. And it'll be much easier to do when you're trying to rush your transitions to get your robot out onto the mat. Spike Prime robotics can be used with EV3 Mindstorm robots this year. So when Spike Prime first came out, it wasn't allowed to be used in FLL, but this year, if you have a Spike Prime robot and you want to use it, go ahead and do so, as well as EV3 Mindstorm robots if you have one. Combining things with mission models is now back and based on time instead of gravity. So what this means is, say you wanted to connect the health units. In previous years, you weren't allowed to do that with any attachment or have them actually connected together. But this year, if you wanted to connect those with some kind of attachment that you came up with and built, you are allowed to do so, but they have to be manually disconnected from that attachment pretty quickly, but this time will be decided by the referee at your local competition. The requirement that things are motionless before launch is gone. So in previous years, everything had to be completely still before you launched your robot. This year that rule is gone and this is not the case. So if anything's moving just a little bit before you launch, it is okay. The stranded cargo rule is now easier to follow and apply. So in previous years, if you lost anything out of launch or home, you just completely lost the object, which was pretty hard because if you needed that object to get some more points on the board, you lost it because it might have just rolled out of home or launch. This year, that's not the case though. So if you lose something out of one of those two areas, you still get to keep the object. You do lose a precision token, which are worth points in the end, but that's better than losing the object altogether. Words such as transport, supported, and independent are gone this year. However, it's very important that you look at the rules for the mission models because they will clarify if they need to be independent and supported only by something else. So an example of this is the slide mission. So the people in the slide figures, if putting them on the tire, they have to be supported only by the tire and independent on it. You're not allowed to have them enclosed in an attachment that you built sitting on the tire, or you won't get the points. Another example is the health units. When you're placing them around the board on the replay logo and hopscotch and the pull-up bars, they have to be completely independent when sitting them there. So they can't still be connected, or they can't have an attachment that's preventing them from being directly on that object. This is the equipment inspection bonus. So like last year, there are 2 inspection areas. There's a small inspection area and a large inspection area. At the beginning of a launch, if you can fit all of your equipment, your jigs, your attachments, your robot, everything into the small inspection area, you get an additional 25 points added onto your launch, as well as what you complete on the mat. If you can't fit it in the small inspection area, don't worry, because you can fit it in the large, but it has to fit in one or the other. Both inspection areas do have a height limit of 12 inches, so the maximum height of your robot can only be a foot tall. And lastly, you should be sure that your mission models are built and set up correctly. This is crucial because you don't want a silly mistake like not checking your mission models to mess up a mission that you worked so hard on. Examples of this is at the beginning of the year, we actually built the step counter incorrectly. So at first we thought this is a pretty easy mission because all you have to do is push in the bar. But the deeper that we looked into this mission and the rules on it, we actually saw that it was supposed to get stuck if you pushed it too hard or too fast. So this is how it sort of actually looks. But had we practiced with it built and set up incorrectly, our robot would have got jammed when trying to push in this bar, and this would have been really important, and it's just something you want to check. Another example that we just found recently was actually the slide figures. So at first, we actually had them, so they were facing away from the green bars, so they were sitting on top of them. And this was causing them to get stuck on the slide, and we were like, why can't we get them off of the slide? Well, the deeper we looked into this mission, we actually saw that they were supposed to be sitting on the back of the green bars. And so now they don't get stuck when going up the slide. And so this was something that we really had a big problem on, trying to get these figures off of the slide. And so it's just, you want to check it. Also, as you can see in the picture, the weight lifter, we also had the pegs on the sides of it were too high up. And depending on what attachment you would have used to complete this mission, it might have messed up what you programmed or what you built. And so you just want to be sure that they're in the correct spot. It's also important that you watch the Replay Robot Game Mission video and know all of the rules on how the missions work.
Our next tip is that it's important as the season goes on to check for rule updates. These rule updates can be posted by FLL as they're needed, or they can be posted weekly. These updates can clarify the rules, or they can change the strategy, and these rules are always going to be written as final rules. So if you see a certain video that says something is a rule, always check written rules before you believe that. Some rules have been clarified this season, such as a clarification on scoring for the robot dance mission, and being the only team in a match makes the shared mission more accessible. And these rule updates have been the only rule updates this season so far, but as the season goes on, keep checking for them. To help your team learn the missions, we recommend these mission markers that have been developed by Arvind and Sanjay Seshan, and these mission markers can help your team learn mission names, point values, and other roles for missions that you might not have known before. So these mission markers each have a name on the front of them along with the mission number, and on the back of them there is point values and roles for the missions. Our team used to use Post-it notes, but after using these mission markers, we found it much more effective at learning the missions and their point values. As a team, we use these at the start of the season to help a lot with learning how to score a mission and figure out how we're going to do it. To help your team plan out your strategy, there's a map in the bottom left of the robot engineering notebook. This map can be drawn on or colored on to help your team figure out your strategy. So if you want to go out to a certain area, your team can just color a line or highlight somewhere, and that will be your strategy. This is one of the options that your team can use to plan out your strategy. The next strategy planning tool your team can use is the map grid by first. This map can be accessed online at the challenge materials for replay season. With this map, your team is able to figure out precise measurements online and relay them to another teammate. Teams that can't meet in person will really be able to benefit from this map because it provides very precise measurements for your team.
Another option for planning out your team's robot strategy is an interactive tool developed by Arvind and Sanjay Seshan. You can find it on FLLtutorials.com, or you can get it on Google Play or the App Store as an app. So I'm going to show you how you can use this. So as you can see up at the top, there are different colors as well as different options. There is yellow, green, red, blue, orange, dark red, black, and white, as well as an X, erase button, undo, redo, the free draw, which you'll use the most, the straight line feature, which I will explain in a minute, the box to highlight missions, a text box, and to save it, you can either screenshot it or hit the save button. Also, as you can see up top, there are multiple different languages that you can use. So I'm going to make up a few launches that you might be, just to show you how this will work. So for example, what you might do is you might come out of base, and then right at this line, you might turn up to the slide. So I'm going to take this box and I'm going to highlight it. So the boxes are really good, as well as the different colors, because it helps you defer everything in a launch, and it will help you defer your different launches. So going back to the free draw, you might come on this line and go under the uprights of the bullet bar and then back to base. So then I'm also going to highlight that. Then I'm going to do 2 other launches just to show you how your team could do this. For example, after this, we might come, what we might do is we might come out of base and go straight up to the bench. Then using the box to highlight the mission, we would highlight that. And then we could say we come back to base after that. And for the third and final launch, I will show you as a representation. You might come out of base and go straight to the step counter. Then I'm going to highlight that and then go straight back to base. So as you can see, here are 3 example launches. This is really helpful because as you can see, you can easily defer to the different routes that you take. Using the text box, something that you can do is you can bring it up at the top, and then you might make it master strategy because that's your team's different launches that you do. And then you can also do this for individual launches. Then after this, I'd either save it or take a screenshot. And then as I said before, I will show you the straight line feature. What the straight line feature allows you to do is measure distances from one point to another. So as you can see, if I drag it out from launch to this line, it's 87 centimeters. And it also gives you the angle in degrees of the line. This is very helpful because in times like these during the pandemic, if your team is split apart, someone can be on the strategy planning it out while the other person can relay the information to the programmer and the person with the mat. So another thing that you can do to plan out your team strategy and to give a good visual representation It's what the Tiger Techs have done in previous years, is taken a large picture of the playing field and put it on a piece of poster board. Then what you can do is take different colors of yarn to help you defer the different launches. This can be very helpful because it gives a good in-person visual, and you can also take it into a judging session and show the judges the route that you're taking. So it's just another way that you can use it for strategizing, which is also very helpful, just like the strategy planner. Next is the FLL strategy scoring and scoring planner. What this allows you to do is score the total amount of points that your team has. You can also use it to find the total possible points for the replay season and how many points a team would like to aim for that season. So what we're going to do is just with the 3 launches that I had before that I showed you as an example, we are going to go back and score that so you can see how it works. So as you can see, just like before, there are multiple different languages up at the top. There's a timer section, which I will get to in a minute. At the bottom, there's a total amount of points, a reset button. And to save it, you can either hit the save button just like before or take a screenshot. So first, we go down to the slide. You want to answer all that applies. So as you can see, if the first figure was completely off the slide, you would click yes. If the second one was, you would click yes. And then you only want to check these if that applies to the mission. So if it was completely in home, then you click yes. If it wasn't, you click no. And finally at the bottom, if the slide figure is held completely off the map by the heavy tire and is touching nothing else, you click yes. So as you can see, that would be 50 points for mission 3, which is the slide. Then has the robot pass completely through the pull-up bar's upright frame at any time? If that was true, you would click yes. So just with that first launch I had showed you, that's 65 points. Then you can either screenshot this or save it to show your first launch's point value. Then moving down to the second one, which was the bench. Again, answer all that apply. If the bench was down flat, you'll click yes. For ones like these, for missions like this, you can either drag the slider or you can type in a number. So if there were however many cubes touching the mat, you could drag the slider and that varies your point value. If the backrest was completely out of both of its holes, you click yes. So that's an additional 65 points. On the step counter that we had done, which is the third one I had showed you, you can see that the bottom of the pointer, if it was on whatever color, you would click that. So that's 20 points if it was on blue, which is the max that you can get. And then just a few more additional point values. However many precision tokens are down at the bottom or left on the table, then you would move that slider all the way up or type it into the box as a value. And then finally, if the team's equipment fit in the small inspection area, you would click yes. So just those practice launches that I showed you as an example is 235 points. So I could screenshot this or save it as the team's master strategy. I'm going to show you these timers now. As you can see at the top, there are multiple different languages that you can use, just like the score and the strategy planner. There's a 2.5 minute timer, which is how long every robot round is. So you can start that and see if your team can fit into the 2.5 minute timer, which you need to be able to do. There's also the stopwatch, which can be used to time individual launches, transitions, or even your overall strategy. And then you can make changes based on that. And the score and timer, as well as the strategy planner before, can be found on the App Store or Google Play or downloaded or found on FLLtutorials.com, which Arvin and Sanjay Sesham created.
When planning for robot launches, there are many aspects to consider. A few of them include how easy they are based on the movement. A good example of that would be driving under the pull-up bar. That would be considered an easier mission, where hanging the robot on the pull-up bar would be considered more difficult because of the action that is needed to hang. Teams also definitely want to consider how many points the mission models are worth. When strategizing, a team's goal is to achieve maximum points. Thus, it is important to consider this. when choosing missions to complete. One way a team could go about planning robot launches is to use strategy worksheets that were developed by Arvind and Sanjay Seshan. These worksheets will help teams think about which missions will take longer based on their location, which missions can be combined based on their location, and even which missions can be combined based on their attachment. When looking at the mission evaluation worksheets, there are several factors that will get your team thinking to better evaluate mission planning. First, you want to document the location from launch of the mission model, which means where it is relative to launch. Second, your team will want to find out the navigation ease of the mission. This means the way that you're going to be driving up to the mission model. For example, if you're going to the weight machine, you'll want to consider the multiple pathways that you could take and which one is easier and which one is harder. Third, consider the activation method. This means the way the mission is complete. This might be a push, it could be a pull, a spin, or even a lift. The fourth other factor could be considered as the X factor. An example would be the height of the mission model or the size of the mission model on the field. Finally, consider the points of the mission models to help your team determine which missions are worth more value. The evaluation worksheets goes through all missions from the innovation project to the health units. This is a helpful tool for all teams, including advanced and beginners. As you look into the other worksheets, you will see things. You'll see other things such as robot testing, robot design, pseudocode, as well as attachment testing. All of these come into play as you plan for your robot launches and can be very important in ensuring a successful launch.
Finally, when considering your robot launches, you really want to think realistically about the setup of your team. If you're a rookie team, then do not try to do all the missions. Start off with 1 to 3 and build upon those. For more advanced teams, grouping missions and trying to achieve maximum points for your team should be your goal. This year, there's a guided mission as in last year. The guided mission, Bocce, is a mission that shows teams how to learn the basic process to successfully complete the mission. It is provided for all teams. However, this helps newer teams the most. The guided mission has 5 lessons, using either Spike Prime or EV3 Mindstorm robots that provide support and structure for teams to complete the mission. For example, the 5 lessons include building a base robot, programming the robot to move and stop in different ways, programming the robot to interact with game missions, learning to use the sensors in advanced ways, and learning to stop at lines and follow them. The guided support is a great way for teams to start their strategy planning. When thinking about any strategy, one needs to be flexible with it. Team members can individually plan the mission strategy and then come together and combine their ideas. This could be at the start of the season or throughout the season. It is important that team members do not get attached with one way to complete something. For example, if a team member has worked on a mission attachment and is not working correctly every time, then that team member needs to be open for other ideas and be willing to change it. Be willing to have an open mind to multiple ways to complete something. Multiple strategies could be attempted. When developing a strategy, team members' ideas should be heard. If a team members have different ideas, consider voting or talking out to different plans to come to a consensus. It is important that teams are persistent and don't give up, but at the same time, teams need to be willing to adapt a mission strategy if it is not working. If a robot launch is consistently not working, then be willing to change how it is approached. For example, try to change the route of the robot it is taking to make it quicker / easier. Try approaching a model a different way, such as a side, top, or bottom. Consider revising part of the attachment or the entire things. Missions may need to be reordered so that others get done easier. When strategy planning, it is important to be creative with your problem solving. It is important to not let the challenge rules limit what you can do. Use the rules, but be creative with your solution. Add features that add significant values. For example, one season, the mission was to place the slingshot on the target area, which was a black box. So instead of actually picking it up and placing it on top of the black box, we put on 2 wheels and then rolled it right above it. So it was right above the black box, but still obtaining the points. And most importantly, think outside the box. Let your creativity take over.
It is important during the entire season that you document your strategy. You want to use pictures, sketches, and notes, as well as record your accomplishments, trials, improvements, and what you would probably do differently. This documentation is key to a good judging session. To learn more about this documentation, check out FLLtutorials.com, where more presentations can be found on documenting your season. First provides an example of an engineering journal for all FLL teams. Be sure to check this out before getting too far into your season. Most newer teams will most likely use the provided engineering journal. However, this is not mandatory. Veteran teams may want to create their own journal depending on their team's personalized needs. When you go to a tournament, whether it is in person or virtual, your team will do a presentation on robot design. Remember to discuss your robot strategy, the entire process during this time. On the side, you see that there is a judging flowchart. Just be aware that this judging this year is all combined and the robot design is in the middle of your time slot.
This year, it is important more than ever to know the rubric because it has changed quite a bit with how it is organized. New this year are 5 categories instead of 9. In previous years, the categories are design, create, iterate, and communicate. Robot strategy is located under the identify category, also under communicate. It is really important that teams document their strategy and also are sure that they include all team members in the process. The tips and tricks today that we shared are appropriate methods to go about planning your robot strategy in FLL. We do not suggest watching videos teams post that share how they completed their replay missions. We feel that this limits a team's ability to be creative with their robot strategy. It is important to remember that this is a learning experience, so copying is just cheating yourself and your teammates. The resources used today are listed here, including using first challenge documents and also worksheets. The replay sketcher and scorer located at the FLLtutorials.com. If you have questions today after today's presentation, you may ask in the chat or stick around for a few minutes to ask us questions live. You may also check out our website at tigertexrobotics.com or visit us at one of our many social media sites. Thank you for listening to our robot strategy presentation today. And at this time, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask us.
So can someone tell me how they first got into FIRST and if they're planning to keep continuing on with the program as you get older?
So I actually was interested in FIRST many years ago. They made a fire hose that lit up to help the firemen when they were fighting the fire to know if the fire was big or if it was little, and it would flash green or red. And that just really inspired me in project. And I was like, this is really cool. And I said, I just wanted to be in this. So the next year when I was in 4th grade, I actually joined the robotics team, and I plan to keep going with it. I just love it. It's one of my favorite things. So.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And Eric has written in the chat, thanks for a terrific presentation. Go ahead.
I got into FIRST because I'd always liked technology since I was younger. So what I had done is in May of 2017, I think it was, I had gone to one of the robotics summer camps that had been hosted. I really liked it, and I liked the theme that year. It was all about space. It was into orbit. I didn't know that was into orbit, but I just saw that there was a space theme, which was one of the missions, one of our practice fields that we had. So I joined FIRST and was on it in the hydrodynamic season. And then this year, it's my 4th and final year because I'm graduating out of FIRST LEGO League, and then I'm going on to FRC now.
Exciting. That's fantastic. Great job. Does anyone have any questions that they can put into chat, or oh, here we go. Can you talk about how physical distancing this year is changing your approach to designing and building the robot? And that's from Eric.
Yeah, so what we do is we wear masks to every practice. We sanitize. We also take our temperature between when we come in. So that's some of the precautions that we take to be really safe. We also use a lot of hand sanitizer, and we sanitize and wipe down everything that we had used before. So these are just, we take the extra precautions just to make sure that no matter what, everyone's safe.
Thank you. And you wear masks.
Yeah.
Good job. Awesome. Does anyone else have any? Oh, sorry, go on.
We also have 3 small groups for our team. And so we'll come in and just be with our small group. So we're not as in such a big group with like 9 people.
Right. That's a good idea. That makes sense. So you're following all the recommendations that the doctors are giving here, at least. I don't know. I'm sure they're the same everywhere, where we have to stay apart and clean everything and wear masks and just be safe as we can. So that's fantastic. It's been a great presentation. I just wanted to thank you all so much for coming. You did a fantastic job. And I asked the last group if people want access to your presentation, are they able to get that on your website or?
Yeah.
Okay, and I have Sia Mehta who's saying thank you so much. That was a super helpful presentation.